I found out my promotion was stolen the day I overheard laughter in the conference room. Not the good kind of laughter that brings people together, but the kind that tears someone apart when they aren't there to defend themselves. And that someone was me. She actually thinks she's getting the director position, I heard Melissa say between snorts. God, can you imagine? Little Miss works from the shadows running an entire department? My coffee went cold in my hand as I stood frozen outside the door, my presentation materials clutched against my chest like armor. 3 months of work on the Henderson acquisition was in that folder, my ticket to the Director of Operations role that had been dangled in front of me since January. A role I had been unofficially doing for months while our previous director battled cancer, to start from the beginning. My name is Emma, and until 3 months ago, I was the senior project manager at Westfield Solutions, a mid-sized management consulting firm in Chicago. I'd spent 6 years climbing the ladder there, starting as an analyst fresh out of Northwestern. I wasn't the loudest person in the room, but I was often the most prepared. I preferred handling the complex logistics behind successful projects rather than taking center stage during presentations. My boss, Michael, always appreciated that about me. "You're the engine that keeps us running," he'd say. When Michael's cancer diagnosis came, he quietly asked me to step up. Not officially, HR wasn't ready to make any permanent moves while he underwent treatment, but in practice, I'd been running our department of 18 people for nearly 5 months. Melissa Carter transferred from our West Coast office with glowing recommendations and an impressive resume. She was everything I wasn't: charismatic, striking, with a laugh that made even the CEO stop by our department more often. Where I preferred spreadsheets and strategy documents, Melissa worked rooms and happy hours. At first, I welcomed her. Our team needed a morale boost with Michael's absence, and Melissa seemed genuinely interested in how I managed things. "You have such amazing systems," she'd say, peering over my shoulder at my project tracking dashboards. "Would you mind walking me through how you built this?" I didn't just walk her through it. I gave her full access. I invited her to client meetings. I forwarded her my email templates and process documents. When she asked to sit in on the Henderson acquisition planning, the biggest project our firm had landed this year, I thought nothing of it. 2 heads are better than 1, I said. What I didn't know was that she was building a case for herself the entire time. Standing outside that conference room, I finally heard what had been happening behind my back for weeks. Melissa had been meeting privately with our regional VP, carefully reframing my work as collaborative efforts where she had helped guide my scattered approaches. She had been subtly pointing out my introversion as a liability in a director role. And apparently, it was working. "She's great with details, but we need someone who can be the face of the department," I heard our VP say. "Melissa, the presentation you put together on Henderson was exactly what we needed." The board was impressed. My presentation. My analysis. My recommendations. My late nights and early mornings, all packaged with Melissa's name. I pushed the door open. 4 faces turned toward me: Melissa, our VP, and 2 board members I recognized from quarterly meetings. My presentation materials were spread across the table, but with new cover pages. Melissa's name where mine should have been. "Emma," the VP said, recovering quickly. "We were just discussing the Henderson acquisition." "I can see that," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "That's fascinating, considering I'm the one who built the entire proposal." Melissa's smile never faltered. "Emma's been an amazing resource. We couldn't have put this together without her support team." Support team. As if I were an assistant instead of the architect, what followed was 2 weeks of corporate hell. Melissa denied everything, claiming we had worked together equally. The VP, having already praised her to the board, couldn't backtrack without looking incompetent. HR suggested it was a miscommunication and that I should focus on being a team player. The promotion announcement came on a Friday. Melissa Carter named new Director of Operations. The email included a quote about her innovative approach to the Henderson acquisition and fresh leadership perspective. I didn't cause a scene. I didn't scream or cry in the office. I simply printed my resignation letter, placed it on the VP's desk, and walked out. 6 years, gone in 6 minutes. My exit interview was brief. The HR director, Paula, seemed genuinely troubled by my departure but offered only platitudes. Sometimes corporate culture fit is as important as competence, she said, not meeting my eyes. I wondered if she knew she was part of the problem. The next few weeks were a blur of self-doubt and Netflix marathons. I fluctuated between rage and depression. My partner, James, tried to help, but how do you explain to someone who works in construction that office politics had bulldozed your career? The betrayal felt personal in a way I couldn't articulate. 3 weeks into unemployment, I got a call from a former client who had moved to Riverton Partners, Westfield's main competitor. I heard you left Westfield, he said. Their loss. We're expanding our operations division and need someone who actually knows what they're doing. The interview at Riverton went well. Too well. They weren't just offering me a job, they were offering me a platform. They wanted an insider's perspective on Westfield's processes, the very ones I had built to help them secure more market share. It was technically legal, I hadn't signed any non-compete agreements. But it felt like crossing a line. I took the weekend to think it over. On Sunday night, James found me at the dining table surrounded by notes and my laptop. If you're still obsessing over Westfield, maybe it's time to see a therapist, he suggested gently. I'm not obsessing, I replied. I'm strategizing. I didn't take the job at Riverton. Instead, I did something much bolder. I started my own consulting practice, focusing on operational efficiency for mid-sized firms, exactly the niche I had developed at Westfield. Within a month, I had secured 2 clients, one of whom had heard about my departure from Westfield and reached out directly. Their processes have gone to hell since you left, my former colleague Marcus texted me. The Henderson project is 3 weeks behind schedule now. I wasn't surprised. What Melissa had stolen were the documents, not the knowledge of how to implement them. You can't present your way through actual operations management. 2 months into my new venture, I received an unexpected email from Paula in HR at Westfield. The board would like to meet with you regarding a consulting opportunity. Confidential matter. Could you come in next week? My first instinct was to delete it. My second was to forward it to my lawyer friend Amira, who confirmed it wasn't unusual for companies to bring back former employees as consultants when things went sideways. Just make sure you charge them triple your normal rate, she advised. Revenge is best served with a hefty invoice. I agreed to the meeting but insisted it be held at a neutral location, a private room at the downtown Marriott. I arrived early, dressed better than I ever had while employed there, with a comprehensive consulting contract drafted by Amira. The board chairman, Theodore Ward, was there, along with Paula and another board member I didn't recognize. Conspicuously absent, the regional VP and Melissa. Thank you for meeting with us, Emma, Theodore began. I'll be direct. The Henderson acquisition has become problematic since your departure. The implementation plan seems to have gaps. I maintained a neutral expression. That's unfortunate. We'd like to bring you on as a consultant to get things back on track. Short-term, high priority. I named my price triple my normal rate, as Amira suggested. Theodore didn't even blink. There's one more thing, Paula added carefully. We'd need you to work directly with the operations team, including Director Carter. I smiled for the first time. I'm comfortable with that arrangement, provided my contract specifies that all my contributions are properly attributed and that I report directly to the board. The contract was signed that afternoon. My first day back at Westfield as a consultant was scheduled for the following Monday. Walking into those familiar offices felt surreal. Some people avoided eye contact, others gave me subtle nods of approval. Marcus greeted me with a coffee and a whispered, "The Queen returns." Melissa's office, what should have been my office, had a glass wall facing the department. She was on the phone when I arrived, but I saw the moment she registered my presence. The look of confusion, followed by alarm, was almost worth the past 3 months of career upheaval. Our first meeting was a masterclass in corporate passive aggression. "Emma, what a surprise to have you back." Her smile was strained. "I heard you're helping us with some documentation issues?" "Actually, I'll be overseeing the completion of the Henderson implementation," I replied calmly. "The board feels it needs my specific expertise." The next 2 weeks were fascinating. I didn't sabotage anything I didn't need to. I simply did what I had always done, solved problems efficiently, documented everything meticulously, and copied all relevant parties on every communication. The difference was that now, those communications included the board. It became increasingly obvious that Melissa had been taking credit for work she didn't understand. Team members began coming to me directly with questions. Clients asked for me in meetings. The VP, sensing which way the wind was blowing, started including me in strategic discussions while Melissa was relegated to taking notes. The breaking point came during the mid-project review with the Henderson client. Melissa attempted to explain the implementation timeline but got lost in the details. When the client turned to me for clarification, I provided it clearly and comprehensively. After the meeting, Theodore asked me to stay behind. "This isn't working," he said bluntly. My stomach dropped. Had I overplayed my hand? "Melissa isn't capable of managing this department," he continued. "The board has concerns about her leadership." I kept my expression professional. "That's unfortunate. We'd like to offer you the director position. Permanently. With a significant compensation increase from your previous salary." I didn't answer immediately. Part of me, the part that still smarted from the betrayal, wanted to tell them exactly where they could put their offer. But another part recognized the sweet justice of the situation. "I'll need to review the terms carefully," I said. "And I have several conditions." Those conditions included the removal of the VP who had enabled Melissa's deception, a formal acknowledgement of my work on the Henderson project, and complete autonomy over my department's operations. 3 days later, Melissa was called into a meeting with HR. She was being moved to special projects. Corporate speak for, "We're giving you just enough time to find another job." The VP took an early retirement 2 weeks after that. My first official day as Director of Operations, I arrived to find my name on the glass-walled office. Marcus had organized a small welcome breakfast with the team, most of whom seemed relieved by the change in leadership. Later that afternoon, I passed Melissa cleaning out her desk. Our eyes met briefly. I expected anger or resentment, but what I saw instead was something closer to respect. She had played a game and lost. In her position, I might have done the same. "The Henderson materials," she said, holding out a flash drive. "All the original files. Your work was impressive." I took it, nodding once. Good luck with your next position, Melissa. That night, celebrating with James over dinner, he asked if I felt vindicated. Not vindicated, I replied after some thought. Validated. There's a difference. I didn't go back to Westfield to get revenge. I went back to reclaim what I had built and to ensure it was implemented properly. The fact that justice came along with it was a satisfying bonus. It's been 6 months now. Under my leadership, the Henderson acquisition completed on time and under budget. The board approved my proposal for 2 new strategic initiatives. And most importantly, I've implemented a team structure that recognizes and rewards the quiet contributors as well as the vocal ones. Sometimes I think about what would have happened if I hadn't overheard that conversation outside the conference room. Would I have continued being the engine without recognition? Would I have eventually been pushed aside anyway? I'll never know. But what I do know is this: your work speaks for itself, even when others try to speak over it. And sometimes, the shadow you cast is larger than anyone realizes until you're no longer there. The END.
If you liked the story, subscribe to our channel and share your impressions in the comments. It's important for us to know which stories will be interesting to you. We try to post new stories every day.